overall portfolio with short-term assets, long-term assets. The longer part of the portfolio is generating about $5.5 million in interest earnings. So that's actual dollars coming in on an annual basis, and it reflects the higher yields from before the pandemic and before the Fed dropped rates low. As Susan mentioned, we do expect to see periods where we have some negative market values when we start seeing rates rise, which is a good thing. We want interest rates to increase because that'll increase the actual yields that you can get on new investments that we're making in the portfolio.
So you're saying interest rates have increased. Well, which interest rate are we talking about?
Right. So your portfolio is going to be most impacted by 2-year interest rates, let's say. Overnight interest rates, which is what the Fed sets, have been set near zero for quite some time. And the Fed has projected that they're going to keep those rates there for potentially as long as 2023, the end of 2023. But the longer parts of the curve, like I said, are really going to move around as the market changes its view on what inflation's doing. Every time you turn on the financial news, all you hear is the I word, everyone's view about inflation. Is there too much inflation? Is it going to be transitory? Or is
I get that, but what interest rate has gone up?
For example, 2-year Treasury rates.
So Treasury bonds have gone up?
Exactly. And along with them. Exactly. And along with them, everything that's tied to that. So corporate bonds, their yields are tied to Treasuries. So Treasuries will move some amount, and then the corporate bonds will move some spread to that, and everything else will move in sort of in relation to Treasury bonds.
Okay. Any questions of this gentleman or Susan? Go ahead.
Just one question. Again, thank you for your work on this. On page 22 of 26, for the first report for the quarter ended March 31. So are you saying that that entire negative change in value is solely because of what you've just explained?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it's 2-year yields going up. There was also at the end of the first calendar quarter, a slight increase in the yields in corporate bonds relative to Treasuries, and that'll also contribute to some of that. Keep in mind that last year, this same time, you also saw a very big gain in the portfolio right when all the interest rates dropped, right as the lockdowns were all declared.
Okay, thank you. And then considering that the first quarter was pretty positive in terms of investments for anyone who had any investments, were you pleased with the performance for the portfolio and all of the other?
Absolutely. And as Susan mentioned, the portfolio did outperform the benchmark for the quarter, even though the benchmark itself was also negative because there was an increase in 2-year interest rates during that period.
Is there anything that you think we should be doing differently?
No, you're very well positioned. In fact, I wish some of your other colleagues would, sort of structure and diversify in the same way that you all have.
You mean the people I'm sitting with up here today?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In the room, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that guy.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Behave yourself.
I'm good. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any other questions? None?
No.
Anything?
All right.
Anything
Thank
you'd
you.
like to add? I have one person who signed up to speak, Jay Abate on CF1. I'm not sure if this is correct. Is Jay on the line or is she here in the house? You sure it's CF1 you want to speak about, Jay?
I think it's that other stuff that we did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that might have been a mistake as to which item. I can't imagine Jay Abate having any interest in her.
Me either.
That's right. Okay. We'll save that for later.
Let's not jump to conclusions.
Okay. On to BUS1.
Not really.
Careful using my initials. It's not funny.
Those are Commissioner Sorensen's initials.
Yeah, gentle.
Careful.
Gentle. Yeah. BSS.
Business one. Addressing diversity recruitment hiring for Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue discussion. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, Mayor and members of the commission. This is in response to the discussion that we had, very good response we had at the last meeting when we were talking about the consent decree and whether or not we wanted to be party to its being dissolved. And what we said we wanted to do is bring back a hiring and recruitment strategy for discussion purposes with the commission. If it's something that you all are comfortable with and are willing to adopt by resolution or some other mechanism so that we can hold ourselves accountable to it, and then see where you might want to go with the consent decree that we talked about at the last meeting. So without any additional comments from me, let me turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Talisha Smith.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commission, Vice Mayor and Commission. Wanted to address the issue that was brought before the Commission at last meeting regarding the consent decree dissolution. There was a motion before the court asking by DOJ that we move forward and dissolve the current consent decree, which is 41 years old. At this point, full compliance with the decree is it would be considered substantially complete. We currently, right now, are approximately 2% away from the 11% that was requested by DOJ back in 1980.
In which department?
In the fire department, I apologize.
Fire department.
Yes, for the fire department. The Human Resources Department has worked with the fire department to have some discussions about some things that we could do differently and come up with just some proposed strategies that we can use in order to accomplish that task. I would like to start by saying our current recruitment process that we have that's ongoing right now has yielded about 22 applicants, 11 qualified applicants, and we have about 6 in the pipeline for hire. And that would be, when I say 6, and those numbers that I'm making reference to is the African-American applicants, because that is the subject of the consent decree that is remaining. I believe that the city attorney came before or mentioned or advised the commission in the last meeting that we had substantially complied, and I can't stand here in good faith and say that I disagree with that. However, to me and to the city and my discussions with the city manager is that the spirit of the consent decree is what we're concerned with, and that's making sure that we're inclusive and diverse. So with that, some of the recruitment and hiring changes that we're proposing is one, starting with the oral board. And we are not cherry picking or staffing or doing anything with the oral boards. We just want to monitor the process to make sure that our oral boards are in compliance with all the other city policies and procedures that we do for all departments. And that's not saying that the fire department is not currently doing that. We just want to make mention that we want to monitor the process from the beginning to the end. So we will be a bit more active, we being the Human Resources Department, in that process. The second item is the swim test, removing the requirement as a condition of employment at the outset. We are in a previous life working as an HR director at the fire department. We relaxed that requirement for initial hires for approximately a year or two and gave the incumbent the opportunity to learn how to swim to the level. And we do have lots of waterways in the city of Fort Lauderdale. So it's really for the applicant, candidate, and employee safety. So it's not something that we would like to remove, but we don't want it to be a barrier to the hiring process. And with that, the fire department is on board with, we are going to make sure that we develop a public safety program because there's the same requirement that we have for police. There is also a swim test requirement. And we know historically from case law that is out there that in the past, that has been a barrier to the African-American community for hires. So coming up, speaking with I haven't had a discussion with Chief Lynn, but definitely with Chief Kerr that a public safety program for swimming for our firefighters is something that we can definitely do and are interested in doing. And the next item would be scoring of the candidates in the recruitment process. This item is something that's purely proposed because it is not in line with our current personnel rules. So we would be looking at the banding process, but I don't want to look at it just in a context of the fire department. What this does is expand the applicant pool so that we can look further and deeper into the list for qualified applicants, because you're literally saying sometimes 1 or 2 points, the applicant pool is cut short of being able to be a little bit more diverse. That is something that, an item that would have to go before consideration of the personnel board, civil service board. The next item is to ensure and invest in a diverse community engaged recruitment team. The fire department, in all fairness, does not have a dedicated recruitment team at this point or stage in time. And in the past, not due to this administration, but in the recent past, they've only had the opportunity to have whomever is selected and whoever is available and interested assigned to recruitment initiatives for the fire department. There is not a dedicated focus team for that, which makes a big difference, because part of the process of recruiting firefighters and police is making sure that your applicant pool or the community is educated on the true work of what the firefighters do. A lot of times people look at the truck, they look at the bunker gear and all of that, and don't really understand what's entailed with going through a CPAP familiarization process, pulling hose, dragging dummies, and things like that. So the education process is very important to that. And part of that is making sure that we have a recruitment team that is aware of the education component, familiar with the community, and interested in doing the work. So that is another recommendation that we're making or proposing. The next one is relaxing the requirement for paramedic certification. Same thing. We have an accredited department. We don't want to lose our accreditation by not having all paramedics in our department, but we would also like to do the same thing or propose the same for same requirement or same suggestion that we did for the swim test, which is basically relaxing the requirement for hires. So that would mean that we could hire EMT firefighters. The cost of attending paramedic school, I guess with EMT and full academy, is approximately $16,000, more or less. That is a barrier for several people. I mean, if you can't pay for EMT school, you can't pay for medic school, and you can't pay for fire academy. Those are three different opportunities or three different ways for any department in the country to say no. And historically, that has been a challenge for the African-American community, as well as the Latino community in years past. So we would ask to relax that requirement for a time period certain. Right now, we can't say exactly how long. I don't know if we would propose 1 or 2 years, because our academies are behind based on the fact that the pandemic shut down many of the academies last year. So our hiring numbers, along with many of the municipal agencies and county agencies, are down because they were not in a position to have courses last year or academy. So everyone's playing catch up.
Can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yes, Mayor.
With regard to the paramedic certification, when you say that this can be done while they have been hired as a firefighter,
Yes.
how long a period of time would we wait for that, and who would pay for that certification while they are working?
The certification would be paid by the city, and the length of time would be based on the agency that holds the class.
All right, and that certification, that certification to be paid for by the city, that wouldn't just be for African Americans, it'd be for anybody.
Absolutely not. And let me just be clear about that. And I'm glad you bring that up, Mayor. This is not a process that is specifically addressing our process that we're developing is not specifically to address the hiring of African Americans. It's to develop a fair and inclusive process across the board. What we've done here today is speak to initiatives specifically that are addressing the consent decree for satisfaction purposes. And truth be told, where we are right now in our hiring process, once we hire 4 African American firefighters, the consent decree is fully satisfied based on the numbers that were presented. But we all have to understand that those numbers were, the satisfaction that we achieve is based on numbers that were presented to us at the outset of the consent decree, which was back in, I believe, 1980, Alan. So the numbers that we're working with right now are, if for all intents and purposes, are once I hire those 4 firefighters, including, we have 6 in the pipeline right now, but once I hire the 4, we're done. So for me, it's more important, and I believe the conversation that have been had with the commission, the manager, and the city attorney is basically dealing with the spirit of why we went into the consent decree. And in order to do that, we need to effectuate change administratively and across the board from HR and the fire department administration. And that is a healthy conversation that we're having right now, why we've come up with these initiatives to move forward.
Okay, I would hate to think that, it's mission accomplished once we hire those 4 people. I think this would need to be an ongoing process within our department so that we don't fall back and find our numbers, and our ratios decreasing. So I would encourage you to do whatever you could to keep these systems in place so that, we continue to maintain that level of parity that we failed to do earlier on. That's all.
That is the ultimate goal for us, Mayor. And the discussion has been, because I did not want to come to you today with a finite recruitment plan. We're still developing it with the fire department and would like to make it part of permanent policy and procedure, what we're moving forward with the initiatives. So it is something that's ingrained in city administration, even when we all are no longer here. So hopefully that we can accomplish that.
Where are you going?
My husband has a time clock on me. Okay, number
Going
6.
with you.
And item number 6 is to expand and invest in our current Explorer program. And these are some of the proposed initiatives. This is not inclusive of everything that we're looking to do and to move forward with in order to address the issue before the commission today. But the Explorer program, we have it. We can look at it in a couple of ways. There's one that is run by the fire department that works during the summer, but to have a true cadet explorer program is to invest in it, allow the students to believe that they're truly participating in it. And we can't do that if we don't invest in the program. The one that we have right now is basically donations that are received from whichever business may be interested in the issue or someone from the community. But the dedicated, focused interest of supporting that cadet program is not just there right now. And it's not that there isn't a desire to do it. There's just no funding for that right now. We do have or have been approached, the city has been approached by some investors in the community, but the recommendation right now is to allow them, at least, we're not bringing a recommendation before the commission for that, but the conversations that have been had with that group who shares that interest is to do something on their own, because I don't want to stand up a program or put the city in a position of standing up a program that is looking specifically at one group for hire. I don't believe objectively, in my role as HR or an ACM or administrator for the city, that I could just focus on that one group. But I do want to create a level playing field. And in doing that, if they're interested in administering scholarships or anything like that to pay for any of those components, the 3 stages that I mentioned earlier about the $16,000, they will be able to do that. And we can steer all of our applicants to them for those funds. But I don't want to stand up the program in the name of the city because that's their primary focus. So that's pretty much it about some of the programs that we like. And there's also Bigs with Badges, a program that the fire department can speak to regarding a public safety program where they mentor with high school kids in the community. There's several different other options we have, but these are the immediate options that we have that can change the process for us.
Okay, any questions?
I do, Mayor.
Wait, start with Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Tarlisha. This is excellent. When I'm looking at 4 and 6, I'm thinking of engaging in the community. I'm also thinking of our junior lifeguard program, because you also mentioned swimming. So maybe in addition to exploring the Explorer program, I know Ben was talking about the junior lifeguard program a couple of weeks ago too. So maybe we try to recruit more of African Americans into that program to especially address the swimming issue that may be a problem. And also we want to recruit people to our Explorer program, but I would also take the show on the road a little bit and maybe bring the Explorer program to the agencies where there are children, like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, Sea Cadets, different things like that. You may also want to consult with Zoe too, when this, when this new person is hired, to want to share this program with our youth. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor. Very good suggestions. I am meeting with Zoe next week.
Great. Commissioner Glassman?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Talisha, for all of this. I really appreciate it. And I too was going to also say the same thing about connecting with Zoe and our Education Advisory Board so that they're all aware of this, because I think that's a great connection for them.
Yes.
Also, the International Swimming Hall of Fame was just very instrumental in passing legislation in Tallahassee for every child a swimmer. Might want to just touch base with ISHOF as well and coordinate with some of the activities through that Every Child a Swimmer program. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank this commission because since I've been here, this is the first time we've taken this much time. I think we spent an hour and about 10 minutes. The last time we brought this up, and I think we got here because of the decree. And my perspective back then was that it's the choices we make, the people we pick, is how we can change a paradigm shift, if you will. And we use an example of the chief, since her existence, how we excelled in one area, but and my concern was, people come and go. We had a different city manager not so long ago, police chiefs. I mean, people just come and go. And I think this commission has done a good job at pausing to try to think this through. Now, my concern is not all, because all have been doing very well since 1980. Where we haven't met our goals is with the two in the decree. And suspiciously, that's not to say someone didn't do anything, but suspiciously, like when I engage the police officers every Friday, as we have in our information sharing session, I've been trying to get a definition of suspicious. What makes a person suspicious, right? And I have yet to get that since I've been here. What is the definition of suspicious? So, ironically, we're in the spirit. We are substantially there, but we're not there. And now we have 4 people, possibly 6, on deck, ready to go at the exact timing of our pausing to get this 11.5% or whatever the benchmark is. And I'm still concerned that when I'm no longer here, you all aren't here. What's the measuring stick that will be left behind that everyone can say this tool is what we are to be gauging ourselves by as we move forward? And this word spirit. I mean, I played football, right? And I used to hear the cheerleaders with this cheer. We got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? We got spirit. Yes, you do. We got spirit. How about you? I was the athlete. And they were trying to motivate us, to give a better performance. And as they cheered this cheer to our fans, to engage us, to get to that goal line of that benchmark, the crowd would get more and more into it. But if we came out with an L, what good was that cheer? What good was that spirit? So I appreciate the efforts, but I want to make sure we don't miss this. And then as I go further into this, I called other places, and this statement I'm about to make doesn't mean I want to do this, but you speak in number 6, I believe. Relaxing the certification could jeopardize our accreditation. I think you said something like that.
That was,
That
Go
was
ahead.
Number 4. But you said that, right? Somewhere.
Number 5.
What do you mean you say it would, if you relax it, it would jeopardize? I just want to understand it.
it doesn't jeopardize the accreditation, but the stronger the department is with medics, most departments try to strive for that for different levels of accreditation. That was the concern that was brought to
Okay.
me. With my history with it, has not necessarily been the case because it was much larger departments. But that's not the end all be all. We don't want to not have paramedics, but we also don't want to not let people come here because they can't afford to be a medic.
Right. And they would have to pay this $16,000 back or not pay it back.
They would not have to pay it back. We have a tuition reimbursement program, or if the initiative from the city, which is I've discussed with the manager, is to, if we bring EMTs on board, is to move forward with paying for the certification program. We have tuition reimbursement for everything else.
So and you may not have this right now. What are the numbers now that we are substantially close and spiritually? What are the numbers?
Our current staffing in the fire department is 375. Our with the full complement of firefighters, it would be 393. And right now, do you want to know
How many women and how many African Americans? I'm thinking about the decree, not how many people we have.
How many total African Americans?
And women.
I want to say, is it 22?
37.
That's not combat firefighters. Some of them are in different positions.
Okay,
not
you're looking for
firefighters.
how many more? 40? I just want to know the numbers. That's all. I'm not trying to test anybody. I just want to make sure we leave a document behind that'll help us get there.
Just want to know.
Because it's my understanding why they're looking for that. It's my understanding, Alan, that we have to make this decision today. Am I correct?
That would be preferable while they're looking for the number.
How much time do we have to do this? I want to make sure the document, I think it's a good start, right? Just want to make sure it's what we want.
38.
38
38.
women.
Sorry,
38 women.
38 African Americans.
30 African American. How many women? Other than yourself, Chief. You can't count you.
Why not? I'm a woman. What do you mean?
I said you just can't count you right now. You got 1 foot out the door.
I think the All right, I'm begging.
Turn his mic off, please.
You're just hitting your prime, Chief. You're just hitting
You'll
your
be
prime.
gone in the next 10 years.
20 more years.
Mute him.
Second time around.
I know, I did. So I believe that there's 28 women besides myself.
Okay.
So
All right.
29.
So I just want to leave a document behind. I said all that to just say that. A document that we can leave behind for the next Robert McKenzie, the next BSS, the next
Thank you.
former Stephen Glasson vice mayor.
There'll never be another Stephen Glassman. I don't think.
No, but seriously.
I don't think we should. I think these are just recommendations that
Yeah.
That the department
But we-
department is saying that we're
You're
going
right.
forward on.
But
There's no vote today.
no, there's no vote, but we said we wanted to have something before we would relax or release this document from our decree order. That's how we got here. So it's 31 years later and we still haven't gotten it. Doesn't mean we're not working towards it, because it looks like this group is. But I just want to feel safe in case I'm not here tomorrow, that there's a document that will help us get there. And when they, use that cheer, we can get.
Can you repeat that cheer one more time?
No.
I was an athlete, not a cheerleader.
Okay, thank you.
However, we got spirit. Yes, you do. We got spirit. How about you?
I find that cheer very suspicious.
So-
It is. I might have the words wrong.
So I appreciate your pulling
This is
together a serious number of important recommendations to try to put us over the top.
Thank you, Mayor.
And again, I think the commission is unanimous in saying that, even if we do reach that goal, that we should continue these processes and these policies to ensure that we don't fall back in our numbers.
Right.
In fact, let's
Well-
do equal or better than the goal that
Yeah.
the consent decree had recommended.
But we have a great opportunity to do just that, because our attrition rates for police and fire over the next 3 to 5 years is high.
And that's what I
So
was talking about,
we will
Chief. I
really-
wasn't trying to push you out the door. I know attrition is gonna.
Yeah, so we have a great opportunity while you're sitting,
Won't be here in 2024.
while this commission is seated, to make sure that you have the opportunity to see the work that.
Third time, come back.
Mayor, I just had
Yes.
just a couple quick questions.
Go ahead.
So Talisha, I think this is great. Thank you for your work on this. I just wanted to make sure, Chief, that this all makes sense. You like it. You can implement. You feel comfortable where we're heading with this.
I am comfortable. We may not agree fully on some of those aspects, but I know that we'll get there. We both agree that it's important that we work hard to increase the diversity of the organization.
Okay, great. And then I know it looks like we have a union representative here. I just wanted to get a sense from the union, whether it's, Chief Kerr, you sharing that perspective, or Talisha, or from the union themselves. I'd like to hear their perspective on this. That's
So, come on.
No, while he's approaching, there are operational issues that need to be addressed, and there are HR issues and legal issues that need to be addressed.
Yep.
Where we may or may not agree may sometimes fall within those parameters and the responsibility that the manager and the
I think
commission
he's out
has.
of town.
So that spirit of working together to try to get it done, we probably won't agree on everything, but we do need to move forward with some of these initiatives to get
Yep.
us in a better place.
okay. Great. Thanks, Talisha. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I think
Share with us your name and what you do.
I'm Keith Costa. I'm a
Thanks.
representative from IAFF Local 765. I think I echo the sentiments of the chief. In general, we agree with the majority of the aspects of this and diversifying our organization. There are some things that we would like to work on to fine tune, but overall diversity is key and we're in support of that.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. Thanks for what you do. Commissioner McKenna, I think I'm hearing alignment and spirit. So
You want to recite the chair?
I need to stand up to do that. I feel.
I'll throw you the ball.
All right, come on. Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, Tarlisha. Thanks, Keith.
So
Thanks, Chief.
let me just ask one
Go
thing.
ahead,
So
Commissioner.
did I hear you right when you said that we need more resources in the recruitment piece of it to really accomplish what all three bodies are trying to do? Is that
Part of the recruitment initiative is to have a dedicated recruitment team for that purpose. Because part of the recruitment efforts is not just bringing firefighters on board, it's making sure that the community understands what firefighting is all about, that it's a profession and it's not relegated to combat firefighting. There are so many other disciplines within the fire service that people in the community who may not want to be firefighters can aspire to. I believe that, when it's fiscally appropriate, we can put ourselves in a position to actually have a dedicated recruitment team and a team funding for a valid cadet program like what I stood up in Miami-Dade Fire Rescue would be an excellent opportunity for us to go out, educate, recruit, and retain. And this is the time to do it because we can put people on track for the attrition that we have coming forward in the coming years.
And again, you don't know how thankful I am that we took time out and we listened and we're here. We're way ahead of where we were in 1980. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. I also want to shameless plug, thank my team who had to do tons of research to get this going. Andrea Walters, who has been working with the fire service and public safety in the city for many, many years, and Anthony Roberts, our assistant.
Can they stand up, Tarlisha, so we can see them?
They probably don't want to, but
Come
Anthony
on,
and
stand
Andrea.
up. Thank you.
We
Thank
got
you.
spirit. Yes, we do.
Hey, we got spirit. How about you?
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Wait, you got to say it in the microphone.
I am a product of that 1980 consent decree. I got hired under that consent decree in 1983.
Look at that.
And Mr. Mayor,
Was there a lawsuit involved? Did it cost us money?
It did not cost you any money.
and Mr. Mayor, if I could add, Mr. Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
if I could add,
You want to blow this deal?
No, just to back up what you said, I did speak to the DOJ after our last meeting, and they were very pleased with the conversations that were had and the amount of attention that we were giving to it. So that was relayed to me. So I just wanted you to be aware of that they did listen, and they were very, very happy with the discourse.
Okay, great. Thank
And
you.
just so we can wrap it up with regards to the consent decree, do I have authorization to execute that in conjunction with the DOJ?
Well, I think the consensus on this commission is that we certainly want to keep these practices in place, and we don't want to ever not have these practices. How that relates to the consent decree, I think, is up to the Department of Justice whether or not they want to continue it.
Well, they've requested us that they want to dissolve it, and the only way I can do that, the previous dissolution was done by the city attorney. We just need to sign off on it to the court. They've asked for the same authority here for the city to execute it or for me to execute it on behalf of the city. I will not do so, obviously, without the majority of the commission wanting me to do that.
So in that,
One. Okay, go ahead.
no.
I was just gonna say I'm just one vote, but I would think we could do away with the consent decree because I feel I have my faith in our staff that we will continue with the not only the letter of the consent decree but the spirit of it. I appreciate all the work that you've done, and even though you may not be here forever, I know that your progeny will be able to support and sustain that practice going forward.
I would echo that, but how long would it take to get the document that's going to replace this in place as a policy?
Well, we kind of have it today.
Well,
these are, if I may, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I can't, in all fairness, as a civil rights attorney and litigator, make a suggestion not to get into maybe possibly protracted litigation on something that's been on the books for 41 years. The spirit of what we're trying to do is, well, what we brought to you today is a proposal that will put us in a position to do something drastically different than what's been done in the past. We will codify everything that we have here and put it in whatever document format that the city
Policy.
will deem a policy, a procedure, however we have to approach it with the city attorney's office.
I'm not a
Codify
lawyer,
it.
but I'm a policymaker.
Yes,
So I want a policy.
okay.
Right, but it wouldn't be codified. It would just be, it would be made a policy.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm looking for the policy so I
Let's
can put
just
the policy in place
Reduce
so
it to
that,
writing.
yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I got
approval.
enough lawyers in this room. I need some
Hey.
policy. Oh, I'm sorry.
And Turlisha, just to be
And
clear
the-
on some of those issues.
Bate signed up on business one. Is he
He's
on the
back?
line?
Where
Is he here?
Well, Mayor, can we give the city attorney the consensus he's looking for?
If y'all want to do it, I just want to make sure we come back with that policy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay with
I agree with you, Mayor. I'm fine to give.
So you don't agree with me?
No, you said you concurred, but I'm okay with all of that.
Vice Mayor,
Without
what
the
is your,
button.
Vice Mayor, do you have an opinion on this?
Yes, I agree with you all. I believe we're on the same page. I understand, Commissioner McKenzie, you want a little bit more of the policy to come forward.
All right.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Okay. Thank you. Is Mr. Abate on the line? He's not. Okay.
Where is he?
For some reason.
What'd you
he's
do to
down
him?
on Business one. I just can't imagine because he's.
I think it's the other one, to be honest with you.
Other ones
Yeah.
too. I think that was because
I
he
can't
sent
imagine him
emails to
speaking
all
on
of us.
that.
Okay, so
Probably Las Olas, Mayor.
we're scheduled now.
definitely.
We're scheduled now for a closed door session at 4:30. We have not done commission reports. For some reason, it's not on the agenda.
We said
We said
we're
none
going to forego it for time for the other big issue.
when we scheduled the 4 o'clock workshop.
Well, it's a 4 o'clock workshop, so we have an hour and 15 minutes. So
Well,
We can use the time, Mayor. Let's keep
or
going.
we can juggle something.
We're done.
pass on it.
You can do.
We can
OPEB,
juggle something.
OPEB,
Don't push
CRA.
off later on.
OPEB, CRA.
Yeah,
Let's
we've got-
go.
We could do the CRA, but that's a short agenda. It'll take 10
Well,
minutes.
let's do it.
OPEB.
Yeah, but
OPEB.
Okay. The conference meeting is hereby concluded. We'll move on to the Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting of 6/15/2021. Would you please call the roll? You remember who we are?
Where is my famous roll call? Vice Chair Moritas,
Here.
Commissioner Glassman,
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie,
I'm right here in spirit.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Here.
Chair Trentalis.
We have a couple of agenda items. M1, motion approving minutes for the May 18th, 2021 Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a
Second.
Do I hear any corrections? Okay, there being none, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie,
I was first last time.
the same,
keep
we're in the, we're in the same month.
Oh, okay.
Month.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Stay in the spirit.
Substantially. Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and that item is now approved. PH1. This is a public hearing approving the donation of land and the award of the scattered site infill housing development project to WWA Development LLC, Fort Lauderdale Community Development Corporation, JESMAC Development Inc., Lemon City Development LLC, and the Oasis of Hope Community Development Corporation Inc., and authorizing the executive director to execute the development agreements and all related documents or instruments and to take certain actions. Chris, you want to explain to the commission what exactly we're doing here?
I'll actually ask Clarence to come to the podium and brief the, probably a presentation between Clarence and Lynn Solomon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mr. Mayor. Clarence Woods from the CRA. This item is an item for the disposition of land. As you recall, The CRA purchased about 55 parcels of land from the city with the anticipation of building those or building single-family housing on those 55 lots. And we've gone through a process where we put it out for bid, had it out for bid for about 90 days. We received 20 responses to the RFP, impaneled a review committee, shortlisted those proposals, and we have 5 now that we are looking to convey land to those contractors. That's essentially it. Bob Schwartz, right? I basically recused myself from the process because I knew of several of the proposers. So Bob Wojcik managed the whole process, and he can come and speak to it more specifically.
Hi, I'm Bob Wojcik with the CRA. Yes, on August 27, 2020, the CRA issued the RFP for 43 CRA parcels. Actually, it was done through the city's procurement office. And these are properties previously purchased from the city of Fort Lauderdale for the construction of single-family
They were
homes.
purchased or they came into ownership by the city?
Well, we purchased them from the city.
The CRA purchased them?
Yeah, I mean, most of these properties had been on the city tax rolls, or not on the city's tax rolls, for many, many years.
Right.
A lot of them came from the county. They were escheated from the county. Others came by the city by various means. But we purchased all the property from the city. We paid for the individual parcels, plus we paid for all the city expenses, and then we paid for removing all the city liens on the property. There were special assessment liens, there were utility liens, there were code liens. And so after going through this process, it took about 1.5 years to go through this process. And we went through the city's procurement office now that the property had clear title, and they issued the RFP for us for the property.
Do you feel that the price points that are identified on page 4 that are proposed by each of these development partners is adequately reflects the fact that the city or the CRA is providing this land for free? Are these price points consistent with the market?
Yes, I mean, every developer as part of the RFP had to provide a detailed breakdown of development costs. So we were able to see what the cost was, analyze that, and see what his profit margin was. So, you know, the property was provided at no land costs, and they had to reflect that within their project and pass that savings on to the home buyer.
Okay.
So the evaluation committee met on April 18th, scored the proposals, and ranked the 5 top-ranked proposers. And then the CRA advisory board unanimously recommended award to the 5 top-ranked proposers. The properties were in parcel groups of 4 or 5 each, and the top-ranked proposer, in accordance with the RFP, had the first choice in the selection of which parcel grouping they wanted to develop, followed by the second group, and so on. The developers have 2 years to complete the project and may have an opportunity to develop additional properties based on their performance in constructing and selling these homes. All properties developed must be occupied by home buyers who will be required to reside in the property for a period of 7 years as their primary residence. These homes would be built are comparable to the single-family homes that were built in the Sweden Estates neighborhood, which was successfully completed with 11 new single-family homes. Staff recommends award of the scatter site infill housing project to these 5 top-ranked proposers. I believe most of the proposers are here in the audience. WWA Development, Robert McNair, Fort Lauderdale CDC, I believe Pamela Adams is here. Jesmac Development, Antonio Gestito, Lemon City Development, Damini Hodges, and Oasis of Hope, Jacqueline Reed.
Okay, any questions? There being none, thank you very much. So what are we doing here? What's the action that we have to take today? It says public hearing approving, so we need a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Well, I guess I guess we need to see if there's any.
Yeah, well, no one signed up. That's why. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
Me
Hold that
too.
motion. I'm sorry. They were tucked over here. Come on up. Michelle Jenkins, Beverly Chambers, Jacqueline Reed, and that's it. So who your name is?
Beverly Chambers.
You're Beverly. So after Beverly will come Michelle, and then followed by Jacqueline Reed. Good afternoon.
Good day, good day. It's small over here. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. Okay. I'm just gonna read, and then I may resort back to my paperwork. Excuse me. My name is Beverly Chambers. I live at 431 Northwest 17th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Since December 2015, my family has been in pursuit of establishing a legacy through homeownership in our neighborhood.
You're going to have to speak into the
Speak
microphone.
into the microphone a little bit
Thank you.
better.
Can't hear you.
I'll let you start over
Okay.
because I want to make sure we hear everything.
Okay. Since 2015, my family has been in pursuit of establishing our legacy through homeownership in our neighborhood, historical Dorsey River Bend. My letter to Mayor Trentilis outlined our pursuit. The address is a lot that's in the CRA proposal. It's address 510 Northwest 17th Avenue, also known as lot ID number 5042 04250310. In the charter or the proposal that was submitted, page 10 of 82 shows that parcel and the winning bidder. The parcel grouping is E. Additionally, that lot doesn't have any valuation on it. All the other ones do. We are here today at this late hour not to stop the charter. I repeat, we're not here to stop it. Instead, we asked for an amendment to the charter to remove the 2 lots and subsequent transfer lots, meeting the requirement of the charter 163.380, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the 2020 Florida statute, more particularly, I'm abbreviating it. This statute gives the governing body the ability to prescribe, which is to allow. This statute gives the governing body the ability to allow my family to comply by the same requirements of the CRA developers without preferential treatment. There are documents attached to. I didn't mention that. I did attach documents. Are you able to review them or preview them? Okay, great. This was the direction and resolve in which the historical Dorsey River Bend family and the CRA members were headed towards at the conclusion of the meeting with the CRA on May 12, 2021. Those in attendance were Clarence Wood, CRA manager, Thomasina Turner Diggs, CRA planner, Dr. Pamela Beasley Pitts, president of the historical Dorsey River Bend Homeowners Association, Ms. Edith Bynes, a member, Beverly Chambers, Michelle Curry Jenkins, and Matt Walters. Shortly thereafter, both of the family's representatives, that would be myself, Beverly Chambers, I'm representing my family, and Michelle Jenkins is here as well. Shortly thereafter, both of our families' representatives were contacted by Mr. Wood and offered other lots not adjacent to the properties our families already own. Accepting a lot at any other location would have defeated our purpose. Both families declined the offer for that reason. Mr. Woods asked us to trust him, have faith in him, and allow him to work with staff for remedy. He was extremely adamant about allowing him alone to petition the city of Fort Lauderdale on our behalf, but could not commit to anything in writing. There was no mention of our concerns at any of the CRA advisory board meetings or no access to any other person of authority, so we obliged. Wednesday, June 9th, 2021 at 11:40 a.m. would be the first time Mr. Woods would refer to anyone in any official capacity the city of Fort Lauderdale had responded. It was Assistant Attorney Solomon. He would have an answer by day's end or the next morning. Thursday, June 10th, 2021 at 11:44 a.m., Mr. Woods called to say Attorney Solomon informed him that the lots could not be removed and replaced, and therefore we could not obtain the lots for intended use. Let me just recap. I am here not to stop anything. In the community, the word gentrification has a nasty tone. To me, it's a necessary evil. Nobody is opposed to change, upgrade, and everything else. We've just been excluded. My pursuit goes back to 2015 when the city owned the property. I got maybe misinformation. I was ignored a lot of times. I said in my letter to you, Mayor, that for 2 years I took a break because I had to deal with health issues. I had breast cancer and I'm in full recovery, thank God. So I did take a break. When I start to make the pursuit again, I had the same issues. We don't want to be excluded. There's a phrase, and that also includes some of the homes that need a lot of repair in that area. New homes are being put there, old homes are sitting there needing repair. It's such a horrible mismatch. It's like putting new wine in old wineskin. Painting the outside of a building or helping with landscaping is gorgeous, but we have some seniors that are proud, that can't even have insurance because they need a new roof or they need hurricane windows, and nothing has been addressed in all of these proposals to deal with that and help us out. This is our community. We thought that we were going to be able to get those lots and do the same things. I have the financing, I have the deposit, and I've been down this road before where I petitioned the city for a lot that was on the bid list from the city, and the last hour was pulled off. Commissioner McKenzie and I spoke about this, and he thought it had better use in low income or something of the sort, another program. I said, well, we pursued this. We followed the rules. I'm always following the rules. He said, just forget about it. And I did. But I don't want to forget about this because I've been going at it for quite some time.
It's okay to give what you said. It's not okay to misquote me. So what you said I said is not true. So for the record, what she said I said is not true.
Excuse me just a second. Lynn, can you come up to the podium? I'm getting the impression that we put this offering out to companies, development companies, contractors, but not to individuals. Am I understanding that correctly?
So I'll let Bob answer it, but we put it out to companies that have the ability to develop at least 5 homes. There were groupings of at least 5. So you have to look at their financial ability, their ability to perform, their ability to get financing, and to meet the requirement to build within 2 years. And so those are the considerations that this board has to weigh. I do want to point out that we are not against community development or protecting legacies, but this board has to weigh building 25 homes with five companies that have been scored, ranked, and screened for the ability to get the work done. So,
right.
And one final comment. Under 163.380, even if we took out the 2 lots from parcel E, which is what is the request here today, we still would have to put out an invitation to bid under 3A. And there's no guarantee that they would still get the lots. We could not, well, I do not recommend that we circumvent the invitation to bid process.
And for the record, that is what I told Beverly when we had our lengthy discussions over a year ago, and as recent as last night, that the process will still be a competitive bid process, which is the ordinance, which I cannot undo or tinker with to make that happen. So I'm still not going to change the denotation of what we can and cannot do in your interpretation in reference to the email that went out to the mayor was just echoing what I had already conveyed to Beverly.
So so I don't see how an individual is precluded from buying one of these homes. These are all going to be spec homes. So the developer will go in, build it, and then put it out on the market, right? Isn't that not right?
So they have to sell it to an eligible home buyer, which is defined, there is no income restriction, but they do have to, as Bob has mentioned earlier, saying that they have to sign our restrictive covenant and mortgage,
right,
agreeing to reside on the property for a minimum of 7 years, or we get to recapture the value of the land.
Right. So none of the folks that are here talking about wanting to build on any of these properties, I don't know of any of them that are maybe builders, but certainly they're homeowners, and if they have financing, then they'd be perfectly eligible to qualify for that home. So this is not pushing you out. This is actually helping you try to, achieve that dream of owning a home. And if it's adjacent to property that you already own, then, you can certainly be there. You'll be there. You'll be the first ones to know when the house is done. So I don't see how this is a conflict in any way. But anyway, let me move on with the other people that wanted to speak. Thank you, Lynn. Well, okay, go ahead.
I just pulled this from the,
Speak into the microphone.
one of the builders.
Speak
One of the
into the
problems
microphone.
is when a builder is building, and I'm a realtor, by the way.
Okay.
And I would live in this property. My house is almost 60 years old. The builders already have a list of homeowners that have propositioned them or they have on a waiting list. We did ask the CRA, will we have a first right of refusal or something of the sort? It was discussed, but we could never get any documentation. So the concern is you still have people that want to come back home, live in the community, but if the builders already have their customers they're serving, we're there, we can't purchase unless we happen to get on a list. So that's the problem. Also, if I build that home with my builder and my finance, I'm going to save a good $70,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see. Beverly Chambers.
Yes, sir.
That was her.
That was her.
That's her. I'm sorry. Michelle
you.
Jenkins.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Michelle Jenkins, followed by Jacqueline Reed. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. Mayor and Commissioners, I'm here to discuss the infill housing proposal. The property listed CRA parcel number 7 at 1615 Northwest 4th Street is next to my childhood home. It is 504-204-25061 with the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office. This non-conforming lot is very close and sits directly next to where I grew up at 1617 Northwest 4th Street. I'm requesting that this location, 1615, is removed from consideration for infill housing. It just doesn't make sense. I was watching the CRA Advisory Board meeting on April 13 and reviewing the attachments. When did zoning and any parameters associated with this non-conforming lot change? It is an answer that I still have not fully got from the CRA office. In 1951, my parents, along with 3 children at the time, purchased the build property at 1617 Northwest 4th Street. They moved from the Dixie Court community. My parents' home was completely paid before me and my younger sister, Stephanie, was born. My parents discussed with their 5 children for years their desire to acquire the small lot next to their home, but could not because of some issues with ownership. In one of my discussions with Mr. Clarence Woods, I gave him a history on this location. My parents, in the best way they knew, kept calling phone numbers to different legal representatives for the property at 1615, and it was moving from one ownership to another. My dad also talked to elected representatives. At the time of my father's death in 2002, my parents were married for 58 years. The city didn't acquire this lot until 2001. During the time of Commissioner Bobby DuBose's tenure, the city did an RFP to bid on city-owned real estate. My mother and I, along with a childhood friend, discussed what amount should we bid. My mother took $6,000 cashier's check from her savings account, and it was returned due to she lost to the highest bidder, the city of Fort Lauderdale. I repeat, the check was returned. This did not make any sense to the Curry family because we were always told by contractors there was no way to build on this property. Over the years, I, Michelle Jenkins, have made numerous emails and phone inquiries for several years to the city about this location. Also note, I am confident in saying that there's probably several parcels, just like the one next to where I grew up, that many homeowners may be interested in. My mother passed away in 2018 at the age of 94, and it would have been nice to have had the addition to the home that they've always desired. I am here to continue that legacy. Before I close, I would like to make one comment. I am a city employee at the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. This is the second time in conversations with another department that me, Michelle Jenkins, being an employee is a concern. I initially was denied acceptance to the 2019 Neighborhood Leadership Academy because I was a city employee. The comment, I should know how the city operates. Thanks to the District 3 office intervening, I attended the academy.
That would be me, by the way.
Right. Now, a conversation with a CRA employee on April 21st, my inquiry about this non-conforming lot is an issue. Let me make this clear. I am a homeowner and I pay taxes in the city of Fort Lauderdale. I was taught at a very early age by my maternal grandparents who moved here from the Bahama Islands, my parents and relatives who have made numerous contributions to this area to always be an active participant in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, before you leave, come back. I call you Michelle because we grew up,
Yep.
Same neighborhood. I was at your mother's funeral. There's many times you come just to my house unannounced. That's the type of policy I have. We can do that.
Yes,
help
Robert, we've
in-
known each other since children.
Help in educating with your son. My brother and your brother are real good friends. And you did speak to me, and I appreciate you not saying you spoke to me and quoting me or misquoting me. But had you had this beautiful presentation last night, we probably could have ended the meeting a lot earlier. But there were emotions in the room last night about this particular lot, in which my conclusion was it's going out for the process that we have worked 3 commissioners ago to now to get there. But with the previous commission, Mayor, I spoke to these what I understood to be non-buildable lots. Michelle used a word called non-conforming. It was denied to me that we cannot give property away. But what I was trying to do was 2 people that I was talking about. It was Mickey Hinton, God bless the dead,
You're right.
and Miss Curry, God bless the dead. They had properties that were contiguous to the homes that weren't buildable in my understanding of a buildable lot. I was told again with this commission, legally we could not do that. And then the surplus lots went out, with our new realtor being dangled as, a carrot to invite investors to the table. So I lost that, but it was interesting when Michelle said to me last night in her rage, non-conforming. So what I want, since she said she hasn't gotten that from the CRA, but we have a zoning director in the room. Can you please tell me if this lot is truly a non-conforming lot, or what is the proper term that we would label this lot? I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, but I said on a non-buildable lot, how are investors in this same neighborhood building on these smaller lots right now? And when you see the homes, there's no possible way to walk to the backyard without stepping over the mechanical or AC unit as we know it. There's no potential room for the house to be expanded upon in the future. And this is what prompted my conversation with 2 commissions to do with this lot and another lot. But we were told by Mr. Fajardo, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, he basically gave me the definition of the question I asked about how were these contractors allowed to come in and build these small houses that we didn't like in our community. And this is why I sided on the side of what we're doing with these lots, because in the hands of these 5 entities, they have always produced, based on their historical products, a house that's complementary to the neighborhood, whereas investors will come in and build the minimum standard house, and you walk away with a huge mortgage and a house that you really can't do anything with. It's not functional by today's standards, but it met the minimum requirements according to what I understood these smaller lots to be. So I would like for Ms. Curry, if anything today, to be able to get an answer or an understanding to what non-conforming is with these lots. And they know how I said I was going to vote tonight, but I invited them to come and speak to it since it was a concern. So are you ready?
I think so. So I don't remember the specific lot, but I do remember that the CRA reached out to us. We had a list of parcels. What the code says is that for legally non-conforming lots, they can be constructed on if they were originally platted in the configuration that they're in.
That's what you told me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Say that again and say it louder, please.
Yes. So when the city was originally platted, lots were a different size than what our typical zoning ordinance stipulates today. What the code allows is for you to go back to that original platted lot if it's considered legal non-conforming. It can't be something that was split and leftover parcels. It has to go back to the original plat. So as long as it can go back to the original platted boundaries, it's fine. They can do a single family home, 5-foot setbacks. It's totally good. We've done it several times.
Right. So they can build on it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was asking for it, it was only to add to the contiguous property for additions and not constructed properties. And I was denied or outvoted, which I'm okay with that because I like where we are with the process. But I needed for Michelle, to get her understanding of why we are where we are today. And if for some reason we change our mind on this particular lot, the process that your mother went through in 2002, I think you said it was, still comes into play, and it won't be 6,000. Based on how they're gobbling up lots in these areas, it'd probably be somewhere between $58,000 and $80,000 for that lot because you go through the same process of a competitive bid. So I just want you to know where I am and how I got here, because our hands are really tied in terms of when it's surplus property and really trying to fulfill a dream or a legacy, because we still go through these processes, and you or Ms. Chambers may or may not be the winning bidders. And we found in this process that we get a better product, and then there's additional monies we can always bring to the buyers of these homes, if available during this fiscal year, that the house is completed, to kind of buy down those mortgages, as the mayor would always say, how can we make it more affordable? But that's what we have to do when we come to a CRA and get here. And if you go back and you look at, I think you mentioned Bobby DeBose house. I mean, this is one of the products that we produced in a Carlton Moore administration. The Sweeting Estates homes that are on the water that Mrs. Adams lives in is another example of what we do and what type of products we produce when we take it through this type of process. And if you go a step further, probably 2 years ago, most of us stood in Sweeting Estates at the old Henry site, which was a nursing home, and Robert Winier, raise your hand. And we built 14 beautiful homes with the same process. And people came out and they contested it, and they wanted those lots for themselves, because this is now a very desirable area, and the real estate is what we call, Mayor, at our last ribbon cutting, very, very hot. And before we could cut the ribbon, all 14 homes were sold, because people like Fort Lauderdale CDC, people like Mr. McNair and the others, Oasis of Hope, they just didn't start working today once the RFP came out to get buyers. They're looking for buyers all the time in the event the opportunity presents itself in a program like this or any property improved in the area to bring the nurses, the firemen, the police, the public work person, or just the person that meets the bare minimum standard of an income requirement. And we have been very successful with this, and we didn't start today. And it is a very long history that even I, in my bullish self sometimes, could not, ignore the history of a Mr. DeGraff and Wright, the history of a loud Carlton Moore, the history of a soft-spoken Bobby DeBose. And day one I came here, I wanted to get the rest of these infill lots completed, and we're now at the tipping point. And this is why I expressed to both of the people that spoke tonight how I was going to vote. But yet, everybody has their own vote up here on what they wanted to do. But when my name was mentioned, I wanted the public to know what I said and how I said it and why I said it.
Okay. Jacqueline Reed?
She was here for questions. She's one of the winners.
Just here for questions, right? Okay, very good.
She's with Oasis of Hope, and back before I became a commissioner mayor, and I was a good builder, making money, we did a project about 15, 20 years ago in Sweden Estates, and we built about 16 homes, and we got stopped with the townhouses, and this commission approved the townhouses for Robert Siegel, and we now have 24 new townhomes be completed in 2 months. But they're all sold because of Fort Lauderdale CDC, Oasis of Hope, definitely, and the work that they do to bring buyers to the table as they develop these properties.
Okay, so
I don't know what the desire is, but I think the Curry case, is worthy. But I don't know how we get out of this.
I have an idea.
You have an idea?
Yeah.
Really?
But I got to close public hearing, and you've already made a motion to close public hearing. Anybody else want to speak on this matter? Okay, there being none. Commissioner Sorensen, you had a second on the closing of public hearing?
Yes, second.
Okay.
But what I don't want to do before you close it is stop this process. So if we got a lot to put in there, I don't know. That's going to be the question because
I have a couple.
Because we worked too hard to get here to stop. Hold on a second. You don't get to speak out of turn in this chamber. So as we're talking, the lot that concerns me the most is the historical piece with the Currys.
Okay. All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Chair Trentellis?
Yes, and public hearing is now closed. So it seems to me that the issue here is, the need for the CRA to ensure that whatever buildings are built on these lots, that we can be comfortable in knowing that a quality building is being built at a fair price, based on the fact that we give the land away, that sale price has to reflect the cost of land, and to ensure if you look at the backup, there are quite a few requirements that the CRA requires. So when we were told that, well, they could do it, an individual can go in there and make it $70,000 cheaper. I'm not quite sure you would do the same finishes, you would do the same quality, and the city doesn't really want substandard housing, and so I can understand why the CRA director would insist on trying to go through recognized builders in ensuring that these properties are going to be built with housing that will be sustained for a long period of time. But having said that, I think that we should consider a possibility of a policy where we give a right of first refusal to adjacent property owners to be able to put in an offer for these houses that are finished but that are built by these developers, and that at least we respect the fact that being next door has some measure of importance, as opposed to just ignoring the fact that these folks have lived here for decades, sometimes generations, and the ability to be able to, incorporate another house or another lot onto their adjacent property is not such a bad idea. So that's the only change I would think we could do as a policy without interfering with this process going forward. Anyone have any other thoughts?
Mayor, my only comment is in reading all of the information in the backup. So to get to this point in time, obviously a lot of work has gone in, bids, et cetera, a lot of preparation. My question would be then, how do we get to the point when the 43 lots were first identified? Why isn't that vetted throughout the community so that we don't have to get to this point in time and have all of these questions, concerns, clarification?
It was vetted.
Clarence will respond. They were vetted.
They were vetted. That's how we got here.
So correct me if I'm wrong, there were 43 lots?
Yes.
Okay, so then help me understand, what is that process by which the entire community knows that these are those 43 lots that are now going to go out for bid for this?
We have to advertise them.
We've done multiple advertisements. We've held festivals and letting the community know that we were going to begin this process way before we even started it, before the actual legal document, meaning the RFP, and then some of the actual advertisement. We held multiple meetings where we talked about this process actually happening.
Okay, so at that early stage in the game, were concerns expressed or people saying, hey, these are not buildable lots, these are not conforming lots? My family's asked for these lots for many years. So
no.
None of that was in the discussion throughout all of that time?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Commissioner, Vice Mayor, do you have any questions? You're good?
I don't, Mayor. Yeah, I'm just.
Okay.
And let me help
Commissioner
Commissioner
McKenzie,
Glassman real quick. It went back further than that. It goes back two commissioners ago. It goes back two CRA directors since the mayor and I've been here. And each time that we talked about these lots, remember, a lot of them, or most of them, were city lots first. And then we had to convey them. We wanted to give them, I think, the mayor and I. But our own code or charter said we had to purchase them. So CRA purchased them, and then they passed that savings along to the end user. And I, in many of those conversations, would speak to the contiguous non-buildable, or as Mrs. Curry said tonight, Ms. Jenkins, the non-conforming lots. I would speak to, if it's next to a owner, why can't we do something to get that to that person? So
what are your thoughts on this?
And what was that
the
answer?
suggestion's good if they can get the first right of. I don't know how far. I guess we have to ask CRA director, the attorneys, and the developers who have invested a lot to this point to now say I can take one of my approved buyers out of rotation now and do that. I just don't know if that's doable.
There's nothing contractual between these lists of approved buyers and the developer. I mean, I don't think there's anything contractual. They haven't signed any contracts. There's no deposits. There's no house.
I think I'm not a lawyer.
I am.
You're a real estate lawyer too.
Yes.
Closing, right? Okay, so why don't we at least have everybody, if we have a moment, so we can get this right? Because I would love to see them have the first right of refusal. However, are you willing to buy the houses? Because when my intent, when I wanted to deed those lots over to the owners, was for additions, not for new construction, for sale, or to put another person in a house, because it didn't have the footprint to do what we were really trying to do. But our interpretation of the code forced us to use those lots as buildable lots. That was my struggle.
That's complicated.
I'm not a lawyer. But I'm something like a lawyer.
Let's dump this on you.
Well, just in a vacuum, your original suggestion with first right of refusal, The Florida statute seems broad enough for us to put that in as a condition, but there's other factors obviously that play into it as raised by the commissioner. We don't know to what extent. Granted, if there's no contracts, it's probably a little harder, but without delving into it more factually, because I presume you're talking across the board and not just these two lots, obviously, that would be across the board for any adjacent properties.
Well, I think right now, Alan, we focus on the two because they're the only two in question. And after this process is over, we don't have any more city-owned lots. And other lots that we could get under normal circumstances have been gobbled up by investors. It's hot real estate.
The problem is making the exception would make it difficult for other adjoining property owners to the other lots that no one's spoken of today. Ms. Chambers actually in her email makes reference to other families with the same plight, which have not come forward. So I suspect there may be others out there that would be interested in that. So if we're going to offer it to two, we'd have to offer it to others if we're going to do that as a policy. So we can look at the statute and see if it's broad enough to add that in, but that would be something possibly going forward. If we
Suggestion, I'm just throwing it out there to try to make some accommodation to these families that have lived next to these properties. And so
we could certainly look into it.
Can we look into that? But so where do we go with this item then tonight?
I do not want to see this held up.
Yeah, I
because
know.
of this technicality. We've been waiting too long to get here, and you all have invested time in it too. Yes, Mr. Herbst, your hand is so big and raised so highly. Please, sir.
So do you want to move the item forward, the resolution, and then with the proviso that the city attorney can give us an opinion as to whether or not we can allow adjacent property owners the right of first refusal on a built house?
Would you mind if I listen to John Herbst right quick?
John, do you have something to say?
I do, Mayor. Thank you very much. So we have traditionally taken city-owned lots and offered them first to adjacent property owners.
I know that.
And I don't know why through the years that didn't work out with these particular lots. So at a point in time when we wanted to use these properties for affordable housing, understanding that they weren't always going to be disposed of in accordance with the city charter at appraised value, if we wanted to let them go, in this case, for no cost, we had to do it through the mechanism of transferring to the CRA. And that's kind of how we've gotten to this point. Just as a way of perhaps undoing this, the city could reacquire this lot back from the CRA and then go through our standard process of selling it at appraised value to whomever would want to purchase it, which would most likely be the adjacent property owner. So that's just one mechanism.
And that's what I said, but
doing it, right, we could undo the transaction.
The money.
But the problem, we
but
had
the
looked at
prob-
that. We had looked at that and possibly pulling the two properties out or something similar. But then remember, this procured out as an RFP process.
Right.
And we'd be making exceptions for two property owners. Again, recognizing there may be others out there that would want the same courtesy. Now, all of a sudden, we're altering a procured item at the request of two homeowners. And the reason the employment of one homeowner came into play because that change to the RFP process would be made at the request of an employee, and that we needed an ethics opinion on. That was the
I
sole
didn't
reason
know that
came up.
part.
All right. So I recommend, I recommend that someone.
And if we did it, because I think we're trying to consider it, I would put in there, they cannot build a new home. They can add to that property of their dream and their legacies. They cannot build a new home. That would defeat what we're trying to do.
So you're saying if an adjacent property owner.
If we could get there, you expand on the home because that's what you always your parents wanted you to do. Expand, not take a piece of property and build it. And we don't know if it's going to be flipped after 5 years or whatever. I don't know if we have
Trust
restrictions.
the quality of the new home is going to be better than the addition.
Yeah, but my reason for wanting contiguous property owners to have a piece of property was because it wasn't buildable,
right?
In my understanding then, and they could add on or make a better presentation to the neighborhood curbside with that lot being manicured instead of us cutting it and picking up trash from it all the time.
But now we know they are buildable.
We know that, so I had to back off.
So, okay. So can someone introduce a resolution to approve the item and then we'll come back with any amendment based on the research that the city attorney will provide to us to see whether or not we can give these adjacent property owners the right of first refusal to buy the completed home once it's put out on the market. Does that make sense?
So are we actually putting a condition on
now.
this, or?
Not now.
No, I think we do it as a
Condition now,
separate
but
item.
he's gonna come back.
Okay,
It's interpretation. Then we
Okay.
figure it out.
Right.
okay.
Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
Thank you.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving the donation of vacant lots to WWA Development LLC, Fort Lauderdale Community Development Corporation, Jesmac Development, Inc., Lemon City Development LLC, and Oasis of Hope Community Development Corporation, Inc., delegating authority to the Executive Director to execute the development agreements, commercial contracts, addenda, conveyance instruments, and other documents delegating authority to the Executive Director to take certain actions and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes. And the resolution is approved. Is there any further business of the CRA? Okay, there being none, CRA meeting is now concluded. I'd like to now open up the other post-employment benefits board meeting. If you could please call the roll.
Vice Chair Moritas,
Thank you, Clarence.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes. Here.
Commissioner-
This is the roll, right?
Yeah.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Here.
Chair Trentalis.
Here. BR1, this is other post-benefits and trust quarterly investment report for period ending March 31st, 2021. Does anyone have any questions with regard to this? There being none, there's really no action to be taken. It's
That's
just
correct.
informational.
Then why are you wasting my time then?
Because
I'm just
because
kidding.
I want to make sure you don't have any questions.
None, sir.
Moving on to M1, motion approving minutes for the April 6, 2021 other post-employment benefits trust board meeting.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and the motion's approved. Is there any other business for the other post-employment benefits board meeting? There being none, that meeting is concluded. Our next meeting is a 4 p.m. workshop, but we also have a closed door session, right?
Yeah, all I need is a court reporter. I need to check. I don't think she's here yet. As soon as I've had a court, we can start earlier. It's just I need the court reporter. So let me check on that.
So, can we start this? We have to wait for her, right?
Yeah, we gotta wait.
What was it, at 4 o'clock?
So we've got the vision study at 4 o'clock, and I think the closed door was published at 4:30. But the city attorney says it doesn't have to happen.
How did you get so far off
What-
today?
What Einstein scheduled that?
We're like trying to have 7 meetings in a day today, so we.
They were listening
Why
to
didn't-
us.
We should have had the workshop after the closed door session, but.
That's what I thought we had said.
Well, if a court reporter shows up, we can do the closed door now.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, don't get too nervous.
Come on, boss.
Maybe they can come on.
So are we breaking now?
Is she
until we-
around? Is she around?
No, I had told them we're using a different court reporter this time because our previous one is not back to live. So I told them to get here at 4 because
Oh,
it's
so they're
typically
coming here in
4:30.
person. Okay, got
Yes,
it.
they're coming here in person. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
At 4? All right, so we'll take that at 4, and then we'll do the other thing at whenever that's over. Okay.
Hey,
All right.
Mayor or Chris, can we talk about the office space, please? I'd like to resolve this.
We can, and that was published on the
Tour of
conference
commission
agenda.
office space on the 8th floor.
So we probably won't do a tour because it would be hard to take the vice mayor with us on a tour.
I could FaceTime with her. We could walk around to.
I know what it looks like. I've lived there for 3.5 years and I've seen
So
the map.
let me see if I could just set
Want to FaceTime with me and walk around?
basic.
I want to FaceTime with you, Steve.
Let me see if I can just set the basic stage here, and hopefully this is a quick conversation. We've done some renovations on the 8th floor in the commission workspace. I've had some requests, different requests from different elected officials for different needs for their workspace here at City Hall. And to put a long story short, if you look at me and say, what's your suggestion? In order to meet the different requirements, I believe, of you all that I've heard individually, because I haven't had the opportunity to hear it collectively, would be to create some additional commission workspace on the 7th floor, and to have 3 elected officials exist in the suite on the 8th floor and 2 elected officials on the 7th floor. And I believe I can get everybody with their spacing requirements so that they can carry on the meetings that they want to carry on with certain levels of confidentiality that people are requesting. That would be my recommendation going forward. It does come with a cost of relocating some staff out of this building, but not extraordinary cost. Very good rental rate in a 101 tower where we already have staff. And so I've been trying to solve this issue of commission workspace for what seems like months now. We thought we might have had it done when we put up the new partitions in the workspace. I think we're better today than we were, but I still think there's a request for some additional space. So I'm looking to you all for your feedback collectively before I go down this path and then figure out when I get to the finish line that it wasn't the path we wanted to go down. So that's a basis for the discussion. We were going to walk around upstairs and take a look if we could, but I think we can just generally get your thoughts on that proposed solution. Again, three elected officials working on the 8th floor and 2 on the 7th. So I throw that out there for your consideration, or you all can tell me differently what.
Well, I think what we're talking about is finding appropriate space for the vice mayor. So whatever you work out.
It doesn't necessarily need to be me. I mean, I just think 3 and 2 probably make sense, but I'm happy to go wherever, 8 or 7. So I just think probably our space constraints are a little tight, and especially using the conference room on the 8th floor. I've had some challenges trying to book that for future meetings, and I've been kind of shuffling between 7th floor city manager, 7th floor law, 8th floor small conference. So I think it makes most sense in terms of workspace overall. The office space upstairs that I previously had probably doesn't quite meet all the needs, because I really just need that conference room is really what I need. And it's kind of sharing.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor, can we make the conference room your office?
Well, then Steve and Ben wouldn't have anywhere to meet on the Mondays and then our office hours. That's the problem. We all share that space a lot of times, and there's a lot of jockeying. And at this point, I've really enjoyed working at my dining room table for 18 months or however long it's been. And working at a larger table is pretty much what I need. Kind of like your office, Mayor. You got rid of the desk. It's just, I don't think Ben and Steve would want to get rid of that conference option. Am I right?
Yeah, I assume you.
Chris, I don't know if this helps, or Vice Mayor, if this helps. I mean, I'm happy to move down to the 7th floor.
Whatever. I think just the 3 and 2 combination, and whoever wants to move, I don't care who it is. Like I said, I'm happy to go wherever either. I just think spreading out a little bit more would give us less conflicts, especially reserving that 8th floor conference room. Steve, I guess it would just be, you and somebody else, whether it was me or Ben.
Okay, so why don't the 2 of you work that out with the city manager then?
Well, I think we have to have a much fuller discussion than this, because, okay, so here are my concerns.
Yes.
Okay, on the 8th floor, on the window, it says Office of the Mayor and City Commission. There was a time for many, many years, what? How old is this building?
Too old.
Too old. This building is what? 60 years old. 60 years old, let's say the Office of the Mayor and City Commission were in that space. That was never an issue until, I mean, we could do a whole history of this, but then 2 years ago, Commissioner McKenzie decided to move out of the 8th floor and he moved to the 7th floor. Okay, so there was space there. city attorney's office, kind enough, gave some
Well,
space.
wait, there's something before that. We
What?
all decided to have a second.
We hired a second assistant. That's what,
That was the trigger that
Correct.
pushed us.
So
to-
we have a second assistant, but then one commissioner moves everyone to the 7th floor. So you would think that's great. Shouldn't that create enough space on the 8th floor if 3 people are moving out? But
they were still sharing one room, Steve. We had 3 assistants in one room, even when McKenna.
So,
Yeah.
okay, and then Vice Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, you moved around to a few different places on the 8th floor, then you moved out, now you want to come back, then we have other space in another building, but I don't know what those costs are if we have to move. Chris, you said if we separate our commission offices and move some of us to the 7th floor, some of us stay on the 8th floor, that necessitates splitting up another department and sending them to another building, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's a cost. I don't know what that cost is. We did just go through a cost to redo the 8th floor, correct?
Correct.
Correct. We did that. Last year, we all decided as a commission, we did not want to spend $100,000 to do a big change, right?
Correct.
So we said no to that. So we went with this mini cost of, let's say, 30, 35 grand to just do over the 8th floor, which we've done. Now there are more issues, more moving around, whatever. And then we're also at the same time talking about a new cost in a new building. I don't know what that is. I don't understand why we have to do all of that, especially then for how long? If everything moves accordingly, quickly with the county joint campus, could we be in a building there in 3 years? I don't know, 4 years?
Well,
5.
When we're done. Yeah.
So
Let me give a little bit more history, Steve, since you think that it's kind of.
No, I just want to get more of a sense of the picture and I want to make sure that if we ever do decide to make these changes, that it sticks, because I just see people changing their minds all the time, and we just keep moving around, and everybody keeps saying, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I want to stay here, I'm going to work from home. You can have my office. No, I want my office. Now I need another office, and we need a conference room. I just want to have a conversation where it's a real conversation, and we know all of our options, and we can figure this out. And I just want to know what the costs are, because I'm not convinced that the costs are justified. But I want to know that information. That's all. I just want to have all of the information and figure out why we're doing this and how we're doing this, when we're doing this. Why did we just go through all these changes on the 8th floor? And why did we do all of those new spaces right now? And several of them are sitting empty. 4 of them are sitting empty. Why are they sitting empty?
I don't think they're going to be empty as soon as we all move back and get into our space. When you look at the configuration on the 8th floor, you're right there. I'm basically, I chose not to have an office because using that office space wasn't really a necessity. I just needed a conference room. So I gave that office space to the mayor's chief of staff because I really don't need just an office. I need a conference. So I have been working back at City Hall and I've been using the conference rooms, but using the conference rooms, once again, I really just don't need a small office that I can't meet with people in. I need a room dedicated to, let's put it this way. All of our charter officers, the mayor and 1 other commissioners, they all have a conference room, okay? 3 of us don't have a conference room. Maybe you and Ben don't really need one, but I need a conference room. I need a conference room where I can meet. That's why I use City Hall. I don't need an office. I'm working remotely now. I have 2 computers, an iPad and an iPhone. I work remotely. I work, every day, just like you all do. But when I conduct the business of the city once or twice a week, I just need I need a conference room.
Now that we're not
So
using the
that's
8th floor
why.
conference room, Chris, why can't the commissioners? I mean, we're meeting here now all day now. It looks like, right? Why can't we use the 8th floor large conference room? Because I mean, I don't know what's wrong with the smaller conference room on the 8th floor. Vice Mayor, the smaller conference room's not good.
Steve, it's good. I've looked at the calendar and you and I have conflicts between Mondays and Thursdays. When I'm in there and you're in there, we have conflicts trying to share it.
What time? I usually only was using it at 4 o'clock on a Monday, right?
Right? Well, if I don't have an office, then I'm only using the conference room. I'm using I would need that space as well.
Are we able to
So
use the large conference room, Chris? Are we able to take that over now that we're always meeting down here?
It's able to be scheduled, but it's used quite frequently during the day by advisory boards.
I tried that too, Steve. I looked at the large conference room, the small conference room, the 7th floor library, and the 7th floor conference area. So I just need a conference area
Well,
to
can't
meet.
the small conference room in the commission suite, that's not available, you're saying, Heather?
It's not, I went through it with all the dates and I have office hours and I have my Monday meetings and we have conflicts between the three of us, Steve, Ben and I.
How about that? Mayor, once in a while, if you're not there, are we able to use?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I've done that before. I've used the mayor's
The only
office
time I
when he's
use my
not there.
office is consistently is between 9 a.m. and like 1 p.m. on Mondays.
Yeah.
I want to have my office hours.
See, I just want us to have a plan so that I don't understand why we seem to always make a change and then it's not good enough. And then why did we just go through that expense of redoing the 8th floor and now it's not good enough?
Sure.
We just seem to always stumble our way forward. We don't really ever figure out.
We did spend a small amount to make some improvements and I think those were necessary. I definitely, like I said, gave up my office space because I wasn't using it as much and I still really don't need a small office. So I gave that up and I'm not asking for that back. I'm just saying, as I've been trying to shuffle around and it's just really a conference area that, where did Commissioner McKenzie go? He doesn't want to participate in this conversation. I'm just saying, listen, for $1 billion budget as city commissioner, I just want a conference room.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I want a conference room where I can keep my stuff and I can be organized. I don't know why it's a problem.
No, it's not a problem. I just would like to see us tackle this in a sensible fashion whereby we're not always saying, oh, that's not good, let's redo it. And Chris,
I tried to go with this cheap plan that was just a little bit of a Band-Aid, but listen, we're halfway through. I've been in office for 3.5 years. I have 3.5 left to go. The pandemic has changed some things. We're all a little bit more remote / in person. And then just like I said, sharing, scheduling, trying between the three of us, you, me and Ben with one conference room. I just need a space where I can keep my stuff and be organized and keep it there and not move out. I mean, if you see the amount of moving, back and forth, it's like I'm carrying a suitcase with me and my.
Yeah. So Vice Mayor, I get it. So would this possibly work? What if, what if I moved down to the 7th floor, Heather's office became the conference room on the 8th floor. Commissioner Glassman would have, 2 offices or 3 offices right there next to the conference room that 1 or 2 of those could just be conference rooms for Commissioner Glassman in addition to your, regular offices and offices for your staff. How about that?
I don't know. I think, we have a meeting in a few minutes, but I just think we need to be a little bit more organized about it. And I think also, Chris, that it should be equal. Everyone should have, for a long time now, we have not had equal space.
I agree with the equal part, Steve. That's why I'm bringing it up. That's why if you had an office and a conference room, if Ben had an office and a conference room, if I had an office and a conference room, it would all be equal.
You guys would have 5 offices on the 8th floor to kind of divvy up and get equality there.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm good,
So
but
I think that works.
That works.
Do it in an organized fashion and make sure everything is equal and,
Since
that square
Steve,
footage.
take whatever space you want on the 8th floor. Take an office and a conference room.
You could
2 other spaces.
Yeah, you know what else you could? I mean, just modular. I don't know if this is possible. The 2 new modules with the when you go in on the left side, Chris, maybe that could be combined into one conference room. So Commissioner Glassman could have that. You see what I'm saying? So there's ways to make that work.
I think if we have some more space on the 8th floor, Ben, with one district moving out, we'll have enough space to do what we need to do with everybody having an office and a conference table. That's all I'm asking.
Great.
And I don't care if it's you or me or Steve or whomever. I don't care who goes. I'm happy about that. I just think we all need a dedicated conference space because I can't keep talking back and forth.
Okay. So I
So
think we've
I'm
got,
hearing that I'm moving
consensus.
forward with 3 on 8 and 2 on 7.
yes.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
however it
hearing that the
happens,
Other commissioner that's on 7 is Commissioner Sorensen.
Yep.
And then what department is leaving the building because of that?
It will be part of the city clerk staff.
So part of the city clerk's staff is going to go to another building,
Correct, across the parking lot.
and that's okay? And how many people are going? 3? Okay. And the cost attached to that?
It's about $65,000 a year.
Okay, well, it's what everybody, I'm willing to defer to whatever the, majority wants to do. Again, I've been having a hard time wrapping my head around all of these changes for the last 2 years with the way the commission offices have moved around, that's all. I just don't.
it has been difficult for all of us, but I think this is a final solution and we do need to make one more final change. And I think this would solve everything. So
Makes
thank you all.
Minutes reflected those words. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Team.
Yeah.
We got spirit. Yes, we do. Thank you.
All right, so
We good? You good?
so for the lack of not having a mayor and having a virtual vice mayor, maybe it can trickle down to Commissioner Glassman as
Wow.
recent vice mayor,
You're like
Yes,
yeah,
Opening the
immediate past vice mayor.
right.
the immediate past.
Emeritus.
So why don't we just adjourn the conference meeting?
Well, I thought we did adjourn the conference.
Well, I had to reopen it
Then
to
we
be able
went
to
to
have that
OPEB.
discussion. Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion? We don't have a quorum here. What can we do?
I don't know. Let's try to do some things.
Just you and
We
me.
have a majority. Keep going. Oh, what's wrong with me being virtual?
Vice Mayor, you're there. Right, I forget.
I'm
So
here.
do I have a motion to close the conference meeting?
Yeah,
Move-
just adjourn it.
Adjourn it.
Adjourn it.
I
Yep.
don't have the, yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
Thank you very much.
Second,
Conference meeting's adjourned.
we
Okay.
in closed door?
All right. So for the benefit of those that have showed up to the meeting, we're going to be in a closed door session before we, sure, be happy to read it. Before we move into the special workshop.
I don't know why.
Thanks. Wrap this up.
And then just leaves.
Get me out of this.
It just leaves. Is that correct?
All right, beautiful. Oh, my God.
Oh.
We're late.
Hello. Good, how are you?
E-Rock, what's up, brother?
Good.
Good to see you, man. It's great, man. Oh, man. You're doing awesome.
Yes, he will. I'm sorry? I'm not going to read it till she's ready.
I decided after I saw the report today.
commission shall meet privately to conduct discussions between the city manager, the city attorney, and the city commission relative to pending litigation pursuant to section 286.0118 Florida statutes in connection with the following matter. James Smith versus the city of Fort Lauderdale, case number CACE 19-00454703. Present at the attorney-client session will be Mayor Dean Trentalis, Vice Mayor Heather Moritas, Commissioner Stephen Glassman, Commissioner Robert L. McKenzie, Commissioner Ben Sorensen, City Manager Chris Lagerbloom, City Attorney Alan E. Boileau, Assistant City Attorney Robert M. Oldershaw, and Certified Court Reporter from Veritex. The estimated length of this attorney-client session is approximately 20 minutes.
We'll just wait for the mayor.